You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. We're a broadcast on 107.9 FM and also podcast on Spreaker. My co-host Jeannie Roller and I are talking today about looking at your medical records. Jeannie, we've talked about this before, but this is a serious thing because it's continual that the records don't seem to say actually what was done, and you got to keep abreast of it and have it changed if you possibly can, if you see that what's written on there is not the correct, verbiage that went on with your appointment or whatever it is. So what do you think about all this, Jeannie? You brought this topic to me. What do you think?
Well, I've heard a lot of people say most hospital systems use the patient portal. And a fair share of them use abbreviated medical forms. They don't put the whole thing on there. So the people who say, oh yeah, I look at my medical records through the patient portal, well, you're probably not looking at all of the records because, as I said, they abbreviate to take up less space and they don't put them all on. So it's always best to go and to ask for the paper form of the medical records. So, I mean, you and Cindy, you and I both know that when you look at them, you find things in there that, oh, no, they didn't do that.
Right, yeah.
Or I didn't say that. I didn't agree to this.
Yeah.
It is just amazing. Having said that, each state has their own set of rules on how you can go about challenging what's in a medical record. And I know from our experience, you can't get it changed, even though it's so wrong that even they can see it's wrong, but still they won't change it.
Yeah, that's so disturbing.
Yeah. If you've had any luck in getting a medical record changed that was incorrect, I wasn't.
I couldn't get mine changed, and mine were blatantly wrong, as were yours. The sad thing about it is, why that's a big deal is because that follows you to the rest of your life. So now they're doing these different procedures and stuff or whatever. They're doing the different blah, 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 blah. And this what didn't even happen. And you didn't even say that it wasn't the incidents that was occurring. And it's just, it's worse than trying to fight City Hall. Seriously.
It is. And, the other thing that I think the CARES Act that was passed a few years back was supposed to make everything in your medical records available to you, that they couldn't hold things back. So, I, for one, have to question, are they really giving you all the information, or are they still holding things back, some of their notes that they do not want you to see? I would say they probably still are. That's my opinion, because there are things that, like, this patient is difficult. If you go to another doctor or you try to go to another doctor, then, that can follow you.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that they have been blacklisted and they don't really know why they have been blacklisted. And I would say that because there must be some sort of hidden record going out to other medical practices that says this patient is difficult, this patient doesn't do what I tell them to do, that kind of thing. But you always need to check those medical records and see, because sometimes there are things in there that they put that they really don't mean to put, especially if they are written medical records.
Right. Rather than the computer-generated ones where they check the boxes and stuff like that. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I read mine from, every place that I go and every procedure that I have. That's the other thing, I always ask for the records, because I had an incident recently where I've signed paperwork to release the records and they still haven't been released. So, I went back and said, well, maybe I did get that record. Hopefully that I did, and I could give it to the doctor, because that holds up your appointments and stuff. If they don't have the information, how are they going to make a diagnosis, or how are they going to help you? So there's another month, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever down the line that you're waiting and you don't feel good and you want to get something done. So, yeah, it's a big deal. I ask for mine all the time. I ask for the CDs of whatever, CT scans or mammograms or whatever. I have those things too as well. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we keep records ourselves of all these records so that we actually have them, because my husband's medical records from that one horrendous experience are so flawed and untrue that we cannot allow them to go anywhere with him. So we have to take them and cut and paste out what we feel is valid and what we have had validated by other medical providers. So yeah, it is amazing that these medical records can be so sloppy. But speaking of the electronic ones, they actually have prompts in them saying, do you really want to say this, or shouldn't you say this instead? So there are prompts in there that clean it up for them too. And there are, what I've been told, are sticky notes where they can put stuff that the patient isn't supposed to ever see.
Yeah, you know more about that than I do. I just know that the stuff that I read in mine too several times was just, I'm saying to myself, did they even have the right person that they're writing this for? Because this, I mean, right. I don't even know what this stuff is. It's not anything that I agreed to or whatever or knew about. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, I mean, this is important stuff that stays with you. It follows you for the rest of your life. So how are you going to go, just for argument's sake, is what I think, if you're unconscious somewhere and they're going to bring these records into it, no one's there to defend you or talk for you. And now they're going by what was written on these records. I mean, in my instances, it was stuff that I was highly allergic to, and they never even bothered putting any of those allergies or anything in there. So, I mean, if I didn't champion to get some of this stuff changed, I don't want to be getting these drugs down the road, because the same thing will happen to me that happened to what originally did when they disregarded, writing it in there that I had severe allergies to it. So, I mean, that's another thing. And I can hear people say, wear the bracelet or whatever. I get that too, but you can't be too careful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can't, because a lot of times those bracelets, they cut off.
Yeah.
And they get lost. Yeah. Especially if they have something they don't want them to have on there.
Right. Well, yeah. Metal stuff or whatever. Yeah, I know. It's scary. It really is. Yeah. And again, we talk about this like it seems like there could be a better way. I don't know what the better way is, but you got to stay on top of all this and have other people on top of it with you as well, as your backup. Yeah, you totally do.
And that's the other thing, Cindy, that these electronic medical records were originally intended, and probably still are, to be able to access anywhere in the U.S.
Right.
So if I was in Florida, then a hospital in Florida would be able to access my records from Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is absolutely scary that those inaccurate records could be following you. So, if you can get them changed, there are different procedures. Here in Indiana, we can write a letter saying that we disagree with this part or whatever, and then it is up to the medical provider. Sadly, it's up to the medical provider whether or not they will even put that letter in there, saying that we disagree and why we disagree, or even if they want to change it and make it accurate. So there's no way. There's no way for us here in Indiana to make sure that our records are accurate.
So what I did in my instance is I happened to get a different GP, general practitioner doctor, and I sat and talked with her, and I said, this is what I want in my records with you. And then every doctor that I have gotten after that, since this surgery, when all the severe stuff happened to me, when it wasn't deemed valid that I had allergic reactions to these things. So I've got like 6 doctors now that are saying, yes, she is severely allergic. She has severe side effects. So I'm hoping that 6 will go against, one record is really what I've done. Like if you have it written 6 different times by, the endocrinologist by, whatever, then that's going to supersede what this one surgeon said or whatever. So anyway, on that note, again, Jeannie, you have to be your own best advocate and, tell people that are close to you what the seriousness is if you have this for your medical records. On that note, stay tuned to Evergreen Media Network.